Hey guys, welcome to day 4 of ratios. We are going to be getting into using our bar models to work problems using unitary method today. So I hope that you have your notes with you. Pause the video as you need to and make sure that you're writing down everything that I'm writing down. It's going to be really critical today that you bar model really neatly and do everything to your bar models that I do. Okay, let's just get right into it. John, Tom, and David share a sum of money in the ratio of 4 to 5 to 6. If David receives $60 more than John, find the sum of money shared by the three boys. Okay, there is a whole lot of information in this word problem, so we need to slow it down and pick it apart a little bit. Let's go ahead and let's just take a look at this first sentence and see what we can gather from that. So John, Tom, and David share a sum of money in the ratio of 4 to 5 to 6. Well, let's go ahead and start out by bar modeling that ratio. So we're going to draw 3 bar models, one for John. There's John right there. He has 4 units. Tom has 5 units. And David has 6 units. So that's what our models will look like. All right, let's take this second bit of information here. David receives $60 more than John. Find the sum of money shared by the three boys. Okay, well, let's see what the difference first of all, between David and John is. And there's a dotted line just to kind of show John's unit compared to David's units. So let's take this piece of information. David receives $60 more than John. Well, since David has 6 units and John has 4 units, we can look at David's units and see that those 2 extra units are going to equal $60. And so we'll just draw a bracket there and $60. Okay, finally, we're getting to our last part of the question here. We want to find the sum of money shared by the 3 boys. So we can look at the bar models and see how many units these boys have together, but we don't know how much money they have together quite yet. So that's what the question is. Okay, so let's redraw. Well, you don't have to redraw your bar models, but I'm going to. Okay, so we know that John, Tom, and David have money in the sum or in the ratio of 4 to 5 to 6, and that David's 2 more units than John's are equal to $60. So I bet you could just look at this portion of David's model right here. And if you see that these 2 units equal $60, what does 1 unit equal? $30, right? That's not hard to figure out at all. So this is how we're going to write that. This is called unitary method. And what we're doing is we're taking our units and we're just breaking them down, figuring out how much 1 unit equals, and then we're going to use that 1 unit to multiply to find amounts of whatever, in this case money. So if 2 units equals $60, 1 unit must equal $30. Now my question was, how much money do the boys have all together? Well, the boys have, let's see, 4 plus 5, that's 9, plus 6 is 15 units. So we're going to multiply 15 units times 30 to find out how much money the boys have all together. And as you can see there, the answer is 450. Now, just a little mental math strategy, you guys. Just a reminder that you can multiply 3 times 15, which would be 45, and then add a 0 because you actually are multiplying 3 tens times 15. All right, let's go on to the next one. All right, the number of boys is 3/5 the number of girls. If there are 120 children altogether, how many boys are there? All right, well, let's start with this first piece of information. The number of boys is 3/5 the number of girls. So if the number of boys is 3/5 the number of girls, we're going to draw a bar model that looks like this. So we've got 3 units for boys and 5 units for girls. Oh, I've got a typo there. Sorry, guys. It should say if. So if there are 120 children altogether, how many boys are there? Okay, let's just take this piece of information right here. If there are 120 children altogether, so all my units of boys and girls added together are going to equal 120 children. We want to know how many boys are there. So let's use the unitary method to figure that out. So this is our question here. How many boys? So how many units do we have equal to 120? Well, we have 3 units of boys and 5 units of girls. If we add those together, of course, that's 8. So 8 units equals 120. So now we want to divide 120 by 8 to figure out how many children 1 unit is equal to. So if we divide 120 by 8, let's see, 8 goes into 12 once. We multiply, bring down the 0, 15. So 1 unit is going to equal 15 children. Now our question is, how many boys are there? We have 3 units of boys, so that means we are going to multiply 3 units times 15 to find the number of total boys. And 3 times 15 is 45, so there are 45 boys in this group. Okay, on to the next one. The ratio of Rachel's marbles to Alexa's marbles is 2 to 1. And the ratio of Alexa's marbles to Summer's marbles is 4 to 5. Find the ratio of Rachel's to Alexa's to Summer's marbles. Okay, so there is a lot of, this is information in this word problem. This word problem is pretty complex. So the question we want to know is, we want to find the ratio of Rachel's to Alexa's to Summer's marbles, right? So Rachel to Alexa to Summer. But check it out. Up here we've got Rachel's marbles to Alexa's, which is 2 to 1, and then Alexa's marbles to Summer's marbles as 4 to 5. So in this first scenario, Alexa's units are only 1 right here, but in this second scenario, there we go, Alexa's units are 4. So that's something we're going to have to deal with. Okay, so let's just start with some bar models. Rachel has 2 units, Alexa has 1 in the first situation. When we're comparing Alexa to Summer, Alexa has 4 units and Summer has 5. So if we want to compare Rachel to Alexa to Summer in one ratio, we need for Alexa's units to be the same. Because we're not comparing Rachel to Alexa to Summer, we're comparing Rachel to Alexa to Summer. So you know what we're going to need to do? We're going to need to find an equivalent ratio for Rachel and Alexa. And here's how we're going to do that. We're going to multiply we're going to multiply Alexa's units by 4. So that Alexa's units can be the same in both scenarios. But if we're going to multiply Alexa's units by 4, since these are in a ratio together, we're also going to need to multiply Rachel's units by 4. So let's go ahead and do that. So Alexa becomes 4, Rachel's units become 8. Now we can compare Rachel to Alexa to Summer. And if we do that, our ratio is 8 to 4 to 5. Okay. 4/5 of Shayla's money is twice as much as Grace's money. What fraction of Shayla's money is Grace's money? We're looking for a fraction of Shayla's money is Grace's money. So hopefully you can see that of and is statement in there will tell us what needs to go on top of our final fraction. But again, this has a lot of information in it. So let's pick it apart. So we've got 4/5 of Shayla's money, twice as much as Grace's money. Well, we can look at this right here, and we're going to, since we're comparing Grace to Shayla, we are going to look at that 5 units for Shayla. So we've got Shayla's 5 units, and we're going to, this information really goes kind of over here with this right here. So if 4/5 of Shayla's money, and there's 4/5 right there, is twice as much as Grace's money, well, what number is 4 twice as much as? It's 2, right? So that tells us that Grace has 2 units. Okay, now let's deal with the final question. What fraction of Shayla's money is Grace's money? So our of is on the bottom, and our is on the top. Grace has 2 units. Shayla has 5 units. And that answers our question. So the fraction of Grace's money that is, I'm sorry, the fraction of Shayla's money that is Grace's money is 2/5. All right, the number of bunnies is 2/5 the number of birds in a garden. If there are 140 animals altogether, how many more birds than bunnies are there? Again, let's pick this one apart and just deal with one piece of information at a time. So the number of bunnies is 2/5 the number of birds. So bunnies is, and birds is of. Okay, so that tells me that my bunnies have 2 units and my birds have 5 units if I'm looking at this fraction right here, okay? So let's draw a bar model. There's birds with 5 units, bunnies with 2 units. If there are 140 animals altogether, how many more birds than bunnies are there? Well, let's just deal with this now. So if I look at all of these units between the birds and the bunnies, I have 7 altogether. That 7 units equals 140 animals. Now for my question, how many more birds than bunnies are in there? So I'm not looking for the number of bunnies. I'm not looking for the number of birds. I'm looking at how many more birds than bunnies are there. So I'm going to take what I know, 7 units, all of my animals together equals 140. Then I'm going to divide 140 by 7 to get 1 unit. That will be 20. And then I'm going to multiply that 20 by 3 units, because this 3 units is the difference between birds and bunnies, and that's what I want to know. And 3 units is 3 times 20, or 60 birds. All right, I think we've got one more here, and then I'm going to have you guys do some work on workbook exercise 10 in class or at home, as the case may be. But okay, so we've got 3/4 of Ace's money is half of Bob's money. This is really confusing, isn't it? But this piece of information here tells me that Ace has 4 units, and that 3 of those units is half of Bob's money. So I would draw my bar model just like you see in front of you, where Ace has 4 units, and then I'm going to draw a line between 3 and 4 because it says that 3/4 is something, or 3 of the 4 units is something else. That something else is half of Bob's money. So we know that Bob has 2 times those 3 units. So I can draw Bob with 6 units right off the bat. We want to express Ace's money as a fraction of Bob's money. So now really this isn't that hard, is it, once we have our model in place? So what we do is we just look at our as and of statement. So clearly I'm going to need to express Ace as the numerator and Bob as the denominator. And my fraction is going to look like this to start. So Ace has 4 units, Bob has 6 units, but of course I'm not going to leave it that way. I'm going to go ahead and simplify this fraction. So I'm going to simplify that 4, 6 to 2. I'm going to divide the numerator and the denominator by 2, and it becomes 2/3. Okay, so if you are, never mind, we just have one more question here. Sorry, we're going to use that bar model and we're going to answer this. If Ace has $50 less than Bob, how much money do they have altogether? Let's assign these 2 units that Ace doesn't have but that Bob does to that $50. And we want to know how much money do they have altogether. So let's solve with using unitary method. So 2 units is going to equal $50. Let's break that down to 1 unit. So 1 unit equals 25. I divided 50 by 2 to figure that out. My question is, how much money do they have altogether? Well, Ace and Bob have 10 units altogether. Ace has 4, Bob has 6. So I'm going to multiply 10 units times $25. And the answer is $250 altogether. So remember, guys, with unitary method, you're always taking the information you have and trying to break it down per unit to see what 1 unit equals, and then you're going to multiply that 1 unit by however many you need. All right, now go ahead and work on workbook exercise 10. We're going to do that in class. Your homework will be exercise 11.